Hey everybody, I gotta tell you, it's a great day because I'm surrounded by Sea-Doos. What you're looking at right here is the 2020 Sea-Doo GTI SE. Now, that's the 130 with 130 horsepower, and that's the 170. Now, of course, I'm gonna review both of these. We'll take them out, we'll do a top speed run, and at the end of this video, I'll tell you, should you save the money and just get the 130, or should you splurge and get the 170? What are we waiting for? Let's go. The GTI model from Sea-Doo is the entry level to their full-size model. So what you're looking at here is the best value in the Sea-Doo lineup. Now, both of these models use the exact same powertrain. It's a naturally aspirated 1,630cc Rotax engine, and they actually basically have the same top speed as well. Really, the difference is how they're gonna take off up and out of the water. And what's funny about that is it's the same engine. It's just ECU tuning doesn't allow you to get to all the power in the 130, whereas the 170, it allows you to have all of those horses. Because this is the SE model, it actually comes with a lot of creature comforts from some of the more expensive Sea-Doos. First of all, a boarding step here at the back, which truly is convenient for getting up out of the water onto this machine, especially for bigger dudes. Let me tell you, this thing works great. Now, of course, we also have the Link accessories from Sea-Doo. This is the cooler. This is a really slick system for being able to take a whole bunch of different carrying cases, coolers, and just stick them right on there, and it's nice and tight and secure. You don't got to worry when you're flying down the lake or the ocean. Now, moving forward, because this GTI has a new hull, and we'll get to that in a second, it also has way more storage now. So check this out in front of the rider. That's like half my arm right there. It's seriously deep, plus a waterproof cell phone case. Really convenient, making sure your phone's not going in the drink. And then of course you got the nose storage. We got the cover in here for the Sea-Doo, but you could still fit a ton of stuff in there. A new hull has arrived for the GTI. This is the Polytech 2 hull. So it's essentially reinforced plastic. Now this was introduced on the Spark model, but now it's been brought up here to these full-size Sea-Doos, and it has a number of advantages. You're saving weight, 30 to 40 pounds compared to the older models. If you put a hole in this thing, you just replace the entire hull, and it's scratch resistant, always convenient, so you know you don't got that fiberglass getting all scratched up on the bottom of your PWC. But now guys, like I mentioned, I want to see how the power feels on the 130 compared to the 170, and I'll tell you about the pricing right now, but first let's hit the water. Bluetooth speakers on a Sea-Doo is not new, but Bluetooth speakers on the GTI, the entry-level full-size model, well, that is new for 2020. And guys, these speakers work really great. Sea-Doo designed them so that they're basically pumping directly at the two occupants on this machine. So even when you're moving at a pretty good speed, you can actually hear this thing. And how about right now, I crank it up for you with some copyright-free tunes, and you can take a listen. Well, I know
Guys,
I said
check
tunes,
this
but
out. What I have behind me is a brand new
Andrei Smirnov actually sounds pretty good on this system too. Now it's time for top speed on the 130. We got her in sport mode, and boogie, let's go. And let me also mention that this is actually a really perfect day for top speed runs because the water is nice and smooth down here. We're just outside of Grant, Florida, and I gotta say, it's a lot nicer being here than in the minus 18 that it is at home right now. Anyways, guys, let's do it. Top speed, here we go. Gotta love the brakes on this thing. 50 miles per hour was the best I could get out of the 130. And now top speed run here on the 170, and it'll be interesting to see if there really is any difference besides just the way it takes off. And we've got some drone footage on this one too, guys, so here we go. Everybody. So we were able to kiss 55 here on the 170. So it turns out there is a slight top speed difference. Not huge, but if you do go 170, you might get just a little more out of her. You might be thinking, Steve, why are you standing in such a weird position? Well, this is to show you the stability. I'm a big dude. I'm able to stand on one of the running boards, and look, the thing is not sinking. That's pretty impressive. And that is mostly thanks to the new Polytech 2 hull. Thanks to the new hull, Sea-Doo was able to bring the center of gravity way down. Everything is lower on this model. The footwells go deeper, you sit lower, the engine is lower, the handlebars are lower. Everything has been brought down into the water to give you that low center of gravity. So then I can do things like stand on one board or transfer from one machine to another out here in the open water and honestly feel totally safe. You would have to work pretty dang hard to flip this thing over when it's just stationary. And besides that lower CG, the other thing Sea-Doo introduced here on the GTI is the Ergo Lock seat. Now, this is coming down from its most aggressive models because what it allows you to do is take your thighs and just clamp them on to this seat right here and really get a strong grip. This was introduced on the crazy RXT models because you have so much power, but it is now filtered down here to the GTI as well. And you know what, guys? I think it's a great thing. Really, you don't lose much comfort. The old GTI seat, and here I should remind you, I actually recently sold, sadly, my 2015 Sea-Doo GTI 130 SE. So I was actually an owner. I've had a lot of seat time on a GTI, so it's interesting the differences from this gen to mine. So mine had that big wide couch seat, and it was quite comfortable, don't get me wrong. Probably a smidge more comfortable than this, but definitely when the things get aggressive and rough, having this Ergo Lock and being able to use your legs like this is incredible. So if I had to choose, I would take this all day because it's also quite comfy. And if you do want to cruise, just throw your feet up there in the footwells and it's nice and comfy underneath you. When it comes to handling, that lower CG is definitely noticeable. This thing sits nice and low in the water, and when you crank the wheel, it really feels like it just sticks. Compared to my 2015, this one definitely handles better, seems like it turns tighter, and sort of when you're mid-corner, my 15, I know this is a motorcycle term, but it kind of felt like it wanted to high side you a little bit. This doesn't feel like that at all. So how does it actually feel in the water? Sea-Doo says that the 170 has 20% more when you first take off out of the water. Guys, I have no clue what 20% more feels like, but I can tell you that this thing feels a hell of a lot quicker than the 130 does. It's amazing. Put them in sport mode, nail the throttle. The 170 really hops up out of the water. The 130, it's got a good 2-second beat before you really feel like you get going. And I want to show you guys that difference. So here comes 2 sport mode launches. The first one I'll show you is the slow one, the 130. Now right here, watch a sport mode launch with this 170 and maybe you'll be able to see that 20%. Guys, this has got to be one of the coolest parts about being down here in Florida, all the great wildlife and the dolphins. Oh, here they are, here they are. Very cool. Now, like many other Sea-Doo models, this GTI also has the variable trim setup, so you can actually adjust your trim on the rear end, the angle of the jet, and that will adjust the attitude of the machine. So crank it all the way up, and the nose is going to pull right up out of the water, crank it all the way down, and it's going to stay nice and flat and close to the water. And you're going to want to adjust that depending on what kind of riding you're doing, how aggressive you are, and then whether or not you're in big chop or you're in nice, smooth water like we're on today. Another thing updated for 2020 is a brand new display screen down here in front of you. Now, first of all, it's a very clean looking screen, and I appreciate that. Second of all, maybe it's a little thing, but there's actually this new neutral light which lights up green to let you know when you're in neutral. The other thing about this screen is it has a number of different settings. So using my handlebar mounted controls here, you can go through and you can mess with all the different settings. So you have a trip meter. These units do have learner's keys, so they come with two different keys. I'll pop this one off right now so you can see it. It's yellow. If you get a green key, that's the learner's key, and that's actually going to limit the top speed and the amount of power that the Sea-Doo puts out. So if you have a kid or if you have someone who's inexperienced and you don't want them to get the full power first thing out, you give them that green learner's key. That's another great feature. You can get over to a clock. You can set it between 12 hours and 24 hours depending on how you like to read your time. You can switch the units, so you can put it into kilometers per hour for all my Canadians up there. You can adjust the brightness on the screen, and the brightness adjust is actually really important on a day like today. The sun did come out, and when it's directly on the screen, it gets a little bit glary, but once you crank the brightness up, it does really help to keep it nice and crisp and easy to read. With the updated powertrain here, Sea-Doo does say that fuel economy is better for 2020 as well. I can only speak to the fact that we've been out here riding pretty much all day, and I'm only down 1 bar, so that actually seems pretty decent. The GTI here is the first model you get to when you bump up from the Spark, and this is the entry-level full-size model from Sea-Doo, and because of that, it really does pack quite a bit of value. It comes with all the features you can get on the most expensive machines, like the link system back there. You get the boarding step out back, you get all this storage, the phone case. All this stuff, it's all the same on, a $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 more expensive unit. One more kind of funny point, it's a little thing, guys. Nice 170 badge on this one, but if you do go for the 130, which my cameraman is sitting on, they don't want to show off that you bought the cheaper model. That's a secret. So I told you it's a good value, but what is the actual price? Well, if you go for that 130 model, and of course these are SE package models, that 130 starts at $10,799 in the US, and this 170 goes for $11,399 in the US. So essentially, you're paying $600 for all of this horsepower, going from 130 up to 170. Of course, the question becomes, is it worth it? This is a tough one for me, guys, and you might hate me for saying this. I don't think it is. Being out on the water, it's not about crazy acceleration. It's about just getting out there, going at a nice speed, cruising around, and having fun. And you can definitely still do that on a 130. You don't need this insane power. The top speed on that thing is basically the exact same. And if a couple miles per hour here or there is really a deal breaker for you, luckily, it's only $600. That's the good news here. But I gotta tell you, I just think the 130 provides everything this thing does, and personally, I really wouldn't miss that acceleration. So I gave you my opinion on which one of these two to buy, but guys, regardless if you go 130 or 170, you're getting excellent value, tons of really good features, and a machine that's just a straight up blast to ride. So that's it for this video, guys. Why don't you go below, leave me a comment, let me know what you think about the GTI 130, and as always, come right back here to TFL Off-Road as we keep bringing you the latest news, views, and real world reviews. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have beautiful Florida Channel in front of me and lots more riding to do. See ya.